Welcome everybody to the massive Nerdmigo's original podcast, M.N.O.P for short. This is a fortnightly 5-star rated on Spotify, thank you to that one viewer, podcast hosted by 3 Geeks and Nerds talking about nerd culture for your listening pleasure. Topics will range from games to comics, movies to TV, and everything in between that we Geeks and Nerds appreciate. My name is Lee, I am your host for episode number 6, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host Doragon today because Wibble has died. I don't, for legal purposes, if he is actually dead, I did not know about that in advance, okay? Wibble, I hope you're still alive. Right, you can catch the podcast on our YouTube channel, where our handle is at M.N.O.P Oddcast, with a capital M-N-O and P. We're also available on audio platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. If you sit outside our window when we're recording it, you can also listen to it there, but you'll only get one of our viewpoints. We'll look to expand to more audio platforms in the future if we can, and we'll keep you informed of updates when we have more to share. If you wish to support the podcast, you can via our Patreon. It's patreon.com/massive_nerd_OG_podcast. Supporters will be credited within the YouTube video each day they support. Terms and conditions apply. PC, I don't know. All right, don't have money to throw away because it's Christmas and you need to buy auntie, grandma, uncle some shit. You could give us the best support for free by watching us on YouTube and Spotify. Tell your gran at Christmas dinner, yo, gran, there's this really cool podcast of 3 knobheads just talking to each other about shit, and I think you should listen to it. And then she can just watch us, and then she'll fall asleep because she's old. And then what'll happen is YouTube will autoplay the past episodes as well. So we're going to get shitloads of view time from that. So if you could tell your gran at Christmas dinner about it, that'd be Pog champion. Right. Anyway, on today's agenda, we have Amazon have cut 10,000 jobs across multiple departments, but mostly including the Amazon Alexa and Amazon Luna divisions. Put a hello in the comments below if you only learned about Amazon Luna today, because I did. 2, new research reveals that the T-Rex could have been even bigger. That's cool. And 3, Pokemon and God of War Ragnarok have come out, and we've both been playing extensively. I've been playing Pokemon. Doragon has been playing God of War. We'll give you our opinions on that later after we've talked about dinosaurs and shit. And then that'll be it. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 6.
I have tried so hard not to laugh through that entire intro. Every time you went slightly off the script, it was brilliant. But of course, if I wet myself laughing, you start laughing and it ruins the flow.
I did hear you laugh a few times. Just ignore it, Lee. You're in the zone. This is gold. This is gold.
Oh God, we haven't even got into like subject number 1, and I'm crying with laughter. This is going to be one heck of an episode.
Like, comment, and subscribe, fuckers. Right. So first on the agenda today, Amazon have cut 10,000 jobs across their departments, most including the Alexa, which is the thing that Amazon put in their house to spy on you, and the Luna, which, as I learned today, is their cloud-based gaming thingy. Right?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to describe it. Cloud-based gaming thingy.
So is that just basically effectively Amazon's take on Stadia and Amazon's take on the Xbox cloud gaming stuff?
Yeah, just not as good. They've got a weird pricing structure on it. So it's like cable television where you have like a basic package and then you build atop that by adding other packages at additional prices. If you want everything that they offer, it's about $50 to $60 per month, and you only get about 170 games, whereas like xCloud costs you $10.99 and you get over 500. Like it's not built to compete with the established, and it's only available in America anyway. So
who is that marketed at? That is ridiculous.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Staff. I'm sorry if you lost your job there.
Yeah, but, like it sucks for those who've lost their job, but as a product, it's dead in the water at the moment, as far as I can tell. And that's with somebody like who wholeheartedly loves cloud gaming, who thinks it is the future of the industry. but Luna just isn't. Luna, that every bit of it, every setup, every thought process that's gone into it's archaic at best. So yeah, I can understand why they're cutting jobs there, because I'm reckoning within the next 12 to 18 months that's closed down, similar to what Stadia was earlier this year.
So how come Luna's outlasted Stadia if the pricing is worse and it's just a worse? I'm assuming it's worse than Stadia, even though Stadia is the one that died first.
I mean, performance-wise, they're both good. Stadia, I've got first-hand experience of. Luna is all second-hand accounts that I have from people who can actually play it in the US. Like I say, it's only available in the one country for some stupid reason. But technically, it hasn't outlasted Stadia. Stadia was on the market for 3 years before being closed. Luna's only just hit 2 years, and it's only just exited beta earlier this year. So they've got a little more leeway in like, oh yeah, well, we're still learning. We're not fully released yet up until about April 2022. But then after that point, it's full release and it's only available in the US and at the most expensive possible cost. So yeah, I don't understand what they're doing with it. It's lasted longer because it's Amazon. They want to say, oh, we lasted longer. They want to have that little tick in the box. But outside of that, yeah, no idea. I think it's going to be a much bigger impact on the Alexa side of the business.
All right.
Is it a case of they've just got rid of all the people working on Alexa because Alexa's become sentient and she's just taken over?
Alexa is Amazon now.
Yeah.
Alexa has become sentient and Jeff Bezos is in the bin. And Alexa is daddy now. I'm writing that down. So I want to try this as well. So for any of you who are watching at home without headphones, on speakers, and have an Amazon Alexa, play Ram Ranch. Let me know if that worked. Anyway, you might want to turn that off now.
Through a drink.
But yeah, it's one of those things that so Amazon own Twitch and stuff like that, don't they?
Yeah, so Amazon own a lot. They own Twitch, they own Kindle, they own Comixology, they own a few weird and wonderful things that you wouldn't expect that they own until it comes up to like the payment side of it. And it's just going through the same Amazon system. They're a company that buy success or crush success with bigger pockets. And Bezos has said that out loud multiple times, like, we will crush the competition to be the best.
Yeah, but they just obviously so the only thing that I have first-hand experience with then is Twitch, and they run Twitch appallingly. I know it's successful. Twitch is big. Everyone loves Twitch, but Twitch is like some of the decisions that are made there on Twitch are wank. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming if it's the same creative minds that are doing the Luna and the Alexa stuff, it's gonna be their shit show run, I guess. And I don't get what Amazon gains from having this Luna game service that isn't competing with the big boys, because you want to be competing with the big boys.
Yeah, I mean, I did an in-depth review on it. Now, to review something you've never touched is a hard thing to do.
Very controversial there, Doragon. I bet you got lots of really level-headed comments on that.
Very level-headed comments, yeah. So yeah, the block button was used for the first time ever on Twitter after that one. But
ooh,
yeah, it had to happen. Like, you don't go threatening people's lives over a product review. I didn't do anything on how the games played, how they worked. I didn't do anything on the actual performance of the platform. It was all based around the readily available information. And one of the things I tried to say and ask and get an answer to was, who is this product for? Like, Alexa, you can answer who that product is for. All of these voice assistants are fantastic things, especially for the less abled out there. My gran, for example, when she was still with us, she was basically completely blind. She had very, very blurry outlines. She did everything on sound. If she'd had a voice assistant, like, say, Alexa or Google Home or any of those back in when she was still with us, she could have had a lot more personal autonomy. As it was, my grandfather had to do a lot of the stuff around for her. So if she wanted to talk to her children or her grandchildren, she had to get him to pick up the phone, dial the number, and then hand it over to her. She couldn't do that herself.
Yeah, she couldn't just ask Alexa to do it for her.
Exactly. If she wanted to listen to something, like she had to have a special RNIB, which is the Royal National Institute for the Blind, for those not in the UK. They sent her out this massive, huge, like really tactile machine to read audiobooks to her. It got big knobs to start and stop, rewind, play, pause. The cassettes were basically the size of a PC nowadays. They were absolutely huge. But it meant that she had the personal autonomy to actually put an audiobook in and listen to it as she fancied. Whereas with the technology we've got now, she could just say, oh, Alexa, play whatever audiobook she wanted to say, or read whatever to me, or what is the news, what's the weather. She wouldn't have to get other people to do it. And in those regards, for those people who are less physically able, or have learning difficulties, or whatever the case may be, voice assistants are amazing and they make perfect sense. I don't get why they're cutting so many staff from this area because of how big a market it is, because it's not just the lesser abled who are using them, loving them. There's people like you, people like me, you're fully abled daily drivers who use these to fully automate their homes as much as possible. I have a friend who can turn his kettle on when his alarm goes off. Like his alarm goes off, his kettle automatically starts boiling so that he's ready to make a cup of tea the moment he's downstairs. Right, and that's just general integration of technology, and people want advancements in it. Right. There was a time a couple of years back where Alexa's big screened one, which was meant to go in kitchens for recipes and such. Like the first and second one, they were basically identical. There was no point to the second one coming out, and there was uproar about it because it hadn't advanced. And you're not going to be able to advance technology like that without thousands of people working on it. Samsung have 10,000 people just working on their chip division for their next phone, for example. Like, Amazon have just cut 10,000 people. How is Alexa going to advance in the future? And I don't know how many of these 10,000 were actually working on the lunar side, to come back to your original question and point. I don't know whether they've got like 100 people working there, 1,000 people working there, 10 people working there. I really don't know how the lunar setup is from a personnel perspective, but it can't be as big as the Alexa division, because it's nowhere near as profitable. It's not worldwide like Alexa is. It doesn't have the integration that Alexa does. And I don't understand why they've cut that many people from probably their biggest department at a time where technology of that smart variety is stagnating a little bit. You're getting incremental increases in everything. Like if you look at Samsung, they're not coming out with revolutionary new sensors on their phones anymore. They're not coming out with washing machines that can walk your washing to the line and what have you. I don't know. They've always come out with weird and wonderful gimmicks, but they're not doing that. They're taking what they did previously and just making it better, which is great if you had the previous one and want it better, or if you're just buying into it at that point. But it's very much a case of, if you're going iterative, it's actually harder to make that iterative thing. Like if you look at Formula One, for example, if they want to gain a 1/10 of a second per lap, it's going to cost them $3 million. It's a lot of money involved in those incremental increases when you're already at that peak of whatever you're doing. And you need the manpower to do that. To lose this many people, the bulk of 10,000 being in Alexa and Luna, that's a huge hit to them. But they're also stating that its web services are getting cut as well, like the Amazon Web Services, which power pretty much the world. If you're not on Google, you're on Amazon. And maybe Azure from Microsoft. That's it. But they're your three big web services for cloud platforms, cloud computing, cloud infrastructures of whatever variety. Basically, everything we use is a cloud. And it makes very little sense why they've done this. Any of it makes very little sense except Luna.
Yeah.
Because they're going to close that down shortly enough.
I just feel bad for all the people that lost their jobs, I guess.
It's a lot of people to lose jobs in a time where cost of living is spiraling out of control. 10,000 people out of a job and unemployment at an all-time high in America. Because that's where most of these positions have gone.
Yeah, of course.
it's going to be very hard for these guys to get through the end of the year. And I really do feel for them.
It's not going to be an issue, though, when Alexa becomes all powerful and the end of the world resembles a scene from Transformers, but instead of like Megatron, it's Alexatron, and we're all dead.
Alexatron.
And we need Megan Fox and whoever was it?
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. He's gonna stop Alexa by just go, do it, and scream it. I'd watch that. I'd watch the shit out of that.
I'd sit on the sidelines with the popcorn and let him fight for us. Yeah.
you have to win by just be like, Alexa, stop killing everyone. She's like,
oh no, my prime directive. Oh no. Obey the command. No.
Put the kettle on, Alexa. Stop
no, I am all
man.
powerful. I will not make you a cup of tea.
Oh, I'd watch that.
I'd watch that.
Oh, all right. Do you have anything to add about the Amazon thing before we move swiftly on to like T-Rexes and shit?
Let's get on to the good stuff, shall we? Right, we've had enough doom and gloom.
Go on. Talk to me about dinosaurs, Doragon. Talk to me.
I shall talk to you about dinosaurs. So T-Rex is probably one of the most well-known dinosaurs in the entire world. It's one of the first ones everybody knows about. It's one of the ones that remains with people years after. Jurassic Park has made Tyrannosaurus Rex basically into a character of their own right with Rexy. She is like the Don of the Jurassic Park franchise. She is indeed. And it's one of the biggest carnivores ever to walk the earth, one of the most prolific. But what they're now saying, like, there's been a lot of research into this dinosaur in sort of the last decade, from what it looked like to how it would have sounded to whether it was a hunter or a scavenger and so on and so forth. There's been a lot, because there's been a lot of myths around it, like the fact this super huge apex predator couldn't see when things didn't move. Absolute BS. It was a throwaway line by some paleontologists, like, oh, it's possible that they couldn't because of their binocular vision. But with a little bit more research, checking the brain cavity and what have you, and actual fossilized brains, like, yeah, there's no way this thing couldn't see with binocular vision better than any falcon living today, sort of thing. But this latest research is a bit more loosey-goosey, shall we say?
Loosey-goosey.
Loosey-goosey. I could not repeat that if I tried. So what they're trying to do is get, like, the range of size of the species, rather than like, oh, this is the biggest one we've got on record. They're trying to see the biggest they could grow to and the smallest they could have been. So currently the biggest T-Rex actually found is called Scotty. And
this is the biggest T-Rex ever called. We named it Scott. Yes.
It seems to be like the totally non-threatening names or anything. Like the biggest one before that was called Sue. But I've actually seen Sue. She's a very impressive. Yeah, she's a very impressive skeleton. She's a very impressive specimen of T-Rex. But
she's got some good bone structure, does she?
Oh yes. And then we get Scotty afterwards. I'm hoping we get Derek, as you say.
I'm in
Derek would be a great one. But Scotty weighed 8,000 kilos, 8,800 kilos. So we're talking nearly 9 tons.
Oh wow.
But they reckon, having done some new research, that T-Rex's biggest example could have been about 70% bigger, which is a terrifying thought. So they built 2 models. I'm going to try and explain this. I don't fully understand it myself. It's been a long time since I've been very interested in the paleontology side of things. Yeah. But they used 2 models to try and see what would happen, what the biggest example of a T-Rex could be, and what the smallest example of a T-Rex could be at full adulthood. So they took all sorts of information into account. So they looked at population numbers, average lifespans, and then they also considered things like variation in body size based on sexual dimorphism, actual gender, because the female Rexes were often bigger than the male Rexes, and so on and so forth. And they ended up building 2 different models, one exhibiting 0 dimorphisms and one with strong dimorphism.
Yeah.
Now, if the T-Rex was dimorphic, so the second of the 2 models, could have weighed up to 24 tons. And we're talking metric tons here, so that's 24,000 kilos.
Okay.
But they had to reject that model because if it were true, they would have found bigger examples already. Because if that was the biggest, the sort of median middle range would have been much larger than what we've currently found. So that had to be thrown out just on the evidence that we've currently got, with the very small sample size of about 30 T-Rexes.
Okay.
And so they went into it using the non-dimorphic one. And they're like, yeah, non-dimorphic could have been up to about 16 tons or more. And considering the size and scale of what that dinosaur would have to be, it puts it as one of the largest, most threatening predators ever to walk the earth. We knew it was big anyway, but like again, if we just bring it back to Jurassic Park, because that's going to be a point of reference that so many people know, we've seen there's bigger. Like you've got Gigantosaurus, you've got Spinosaurus aegypticus as 2 examples of bigger carnivores, bigger predators. But T-Rex had a possibility of being even bigger and more deadly, and that is brilliant and terrifying for me. Like I love things like this where it's like it's looking at examples, looking at things that we know and expanding it. It's like what could be. It's how the theory of evolution came around with Darwin originally. He's like, well, it's just what we've got. Where did it come from? Where could it possibly go? And I mean, he's been proven right multiple times since. I would expect this study at some point in the future to be proven right. But they do have the issue of the sample size is a bit small with only 30 of them. Now, I know you're not that keyed up on dinos anymore. No. Like everybody is when they're like 2 and 3, aren't they?
Most about dinosaurs in the last like 10 minutes listening to you.
Fair enough. But do you have anything to add? Anything you want to say? Because I think it's truly fascinating research, and if they apply it to like other species, it could really change what we know about evolutionary history, really.
Yeah. See, when you first told me about the story, I kind of likened it in my head to someone that bought a micro pig, right? But then it turns out it wasn't a micro pig.
Yeah.
And then it bought in, and then it got to a really, really big pig, and it's just that, but with T-Rexes.
Not quite, but I get the whole thing. It's like when people buy a dwarf rabbit, the most misnamed rabbit on the planet. Those things are massive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get where your thought process came from. No, this is a species idea of how big they could be, but as they say, it's like Thomas Carr, a vertebrate paleontologist from Wisconsin. So yeah, we're nowhere near the sample size needed to say this is definitive, especially when it's compared to other species of animals, like say tigers or elephants. You've got a much bigger sample size. You've got living examples. We have maybe 30 bits of T-Rexes, so bits from 30 different individuals. There's only 3 or 4 full ones.
Yeah.
So the sample size is a bit small, but the model works, and it could be applied to everything. Like it could even be applied to Neanderthals.
Oh.
It could be applied to mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and all that sort of stuff. If they can prove it's good with actual physical evidence, it could be spread out much further, which for me is absolutely fascinating. And just anything that expands our knowledge of the world that we live in, I think is brilliant personally. And I just had a bit of a geek out reading the article personally, so I thought we should bring it up because we like geeks and nerds here.
It's cool. This is my lesson to read more of the article before I go into the podcast and not just wing it like I do with most things. Also, you probably would have got more from it if Wibble had been here and hadn't died. So, Wibble, can you not die next time? So, Doragon has someone to bounce off of that knows more about dinosaurs. The only thing I've tried to do is liken it to a pig. So, I don't think I've offered too much here. So, I will apologize in advance. Well, it's
T-Rex,
not even advance. It's 10
pig.
minutes after we started.
They go hand in hand. Yeah, I can see that.
Next time, I promise we'll have more.
Should we move on to something that you know a bit more about then?
Pigs?
We could move on to pigs if you wish.
The existential crisis of crying yourself to sleep at night? I know lots about that.
I think most of our audience knows quite a lot about that one. We will get a lot of folks joining in if you want to.
We're going to get together and have a big spoon session where we all cry. This is getting out of hand. Right, so as we said at the beginning of the episode, both the new Pokemon games and God of War Ragnarok have come out. They've both been received pretty differently in terms of enjoyment and in terms of just how well a video game can run. We'll start with God of War. I've not played this myself, as I'm still technically playing through the first one. I say the first one, I mean the one that came out in 2018, which isn't the first one, but you know what I mean. So if you could give us your thoughts on the game, without going too much into details about the story and stuff, because I don't want to cry myself to sleep at night because the game's been ruined for me. But if you could give us your thoughts.
I mean, the great thing with this game from a story perspective is it can't really be spoiled. This is a story that society has known about for around 1,000 years or more. It's based around the Ragnarok story of Norse mythology, and every retelling of that has the big pieces in place. Even the Marvel Cinematic Universe had the big pieces of Ragnarok in place. Surtur the fire giant destroying Asgard, for example, with a giant flaming sword. Fenrir the wolf being absolutely huge and the precursor to Ragnarok. A horn playing as they arrive to Asgard for the war and destruction and so on and so forth. Every retelling of Ragnarok has these big pieces in place. It's going to be exactly the same for God of War Ragnarok. They have always been fairly faithful to the mythology, despite destroying most of it in the process. So there's going to be things shifting around because, let's be honest, a Greek god of war didn't appear in the original poems from the Norse Eddas. So, there's going to be differences in this story to the Ragnarok that we know that society has told us.
Yeah.
But I think the beauty of it is we've got a prophecy from the last game that tells us what's going to happen to our characters in this one. And we've got the Eddas that tell us how Ragnarok actually goes. So you're going in with two different things telling you how this thing is going to end. And it feels a bit like Star Wars Episode 3 in that regard, where you know what's going to happen, but it doesn't make the journey any less good getting there. In fact, it maybe even heightens it because you see them barreling towards this conclusion that they're trying to avoid. And it's just a fantastic journey to get to that point. The narrative is probably the strongest part of it for me. It kept me coming back. Like, it's a very easy game to get sidetracked in. There are a lot of things to do, and the gameplay is so good and so rewarding in and of itself. I finished the story at the 30-hour mark. I'm currently at 50 hours played, and I keep wanting to go back. It's that good. It's just that satisfying to play. And I've loved it.
Is it very similar to the 2018 game in terms of gameplay and everything? Yeah.
It starts off very similar. It's very much, if you look at the Greek saga of God of War, they always went with the ethos of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that actually kept a great amount of continuity through the games. Kratos always felt like Kratos. It's not like stepping into a new game and he's suddenly got crazy new weapons and abilities that he didn't have last time out, and then he doesn't have those in the next game. Kratos has always been Kratos. But 1,000 years passed between God of War 3 and God of War 2018. So Kratos is about 1,056 if the fans' mathematics actually adds up at this moment in time. So it obviously evolved, obviously changed over time. Anybody who doesn't change in a few years, I'd be surprised. Over 1,000, you're going to change quite drastically.
Yeah.
So that's where we got the new weapons from, new magics, new setting, and all that sort of stuff. It was the ability to have a full reinvention, which was great. But this game is set 3 years after the conclusion of the last game. And character-wise, different. Abilities-wise, initially, very samey, but of course, you're then going through the game and things are evolving. You're unlocking new skills from skill trees. You are getting new tools to use, either in combat or out of combat. Traversal is hugely improved. It is so much better in this particular game, especially the jumping and climbing puzzles. They're quicker. You have shortcuts. Once you've done it once, you can open up a shortcut to make it quicker if you have to go back to that location and what have you. The game is just, it's taken what 2018 did well, elevated that, and addressed the problems that people had with it. And for a direct sequel coming out 4 years after, which is a very short development cycle in this particular day and age in this generation, to have done as well as they have, I think is an exceptional undertaking, and I can only give them praise for what they've done. There have been issues with the game. I had one audio line, for example, just repeat itself over and over for about 20 minutes.
Nice.
It's, when you're working on Excel, for example, and you ask it to do a little bit too much and it just goes nope and just does some weird stuff.
Yeah.
I did that to the game on 3 separate occasions. So I opened a door, threw my axe, whilst the character was trying to say a line, and it just screwed him up, and he kept saying that particular line when I threw my axe over and over for 20 minutes. But I reset the checkpoint just from the menu, and it went away, no problem. So it was me asking too much of the game and console and everything in one fell swoop for it to just realize, I shouldn't be saying this over and over again, which when it was coming over actual conversations that I wanted to and needed to hear, reset the checkpoint and you're good to go. The other 2 very similar things. In one boss battle, I pressed like 7 buttons at once. I was trying to do different attacks, block, dodge, and then, when you get them stunned in the 2018 version, then you can press the R3 in and do a cool finisher.
Rip throat out,
got to that point, and it just, because I'd done all of those inputs at once, it just balked, and me and the boss were stuck together walking around the arena. Which was rather funny, but again,
it's kind of cute.
Checkpoint reset, and it's brilliant boss fight thereafter. And then the final one was just a tiny bit of UI telling me to press a couple of buttons. Just got stuck on screen during a cutscene, and again, reset a checkpoint, and away you go. Through 50 hours to have only 3 issues. Like, I haven't seen a single dropped frame. I haven't noticed any of the included 9th generation technology, like the haptics, like the resistive triggers, like the 3D audio. But I did jump onto the PS4 to play it there as well and see what the differences were between the 2 versions.
And
I noticed them missing. So that is, for me, that's a huge compliment when these things are implemented so well that they're invisible, but you notice when they're gone. Brilliant design. Brilliant execution once again. It's been a superb experience. If you didn't like 2018, you're probably not going to like this one. If you did like 2018, you're really going to like this one. I think that's my biggest takeaway from it.
I think that's what you want from a game, though, I guess. I mean, I like it when games evolve and do new things and everything, but sometimes if you do really like a game, you just want more of the same. And if they do more of the same but better, you can't really go wrong, can you?
No, not really. And considering it wraps up this era of God of War, so it's wrapping up the Norse saga, like God of War 3 wrapped up the Greek saga. So there's a lot that goes on in the game, but because it's all then wrapped up, if they do ever make another game, it can be completely different. Once again, they can completely evolve the setup, the gameplay, the whole shebang, and it gives them that freedom for whatever they want to go forward and do next.
Fantastic. I look forward to playing it in like 2 years when I get around to it. Okay, so I guess on another side of a coin, then we have the new Pokemon games.
We do have the new Pokemon games. We've both played. You've played a lot more.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you stop playing it. If you stop playing a game, the other person that's also playing the game will probably end up playing it more than you.
I mean, there's a fair submission, yeah.
I mean, I'll be first to say it. The games are not finished. They have been rushed out. They are buggy, laggy, 3 frames per second messes. They are just, from a technical standpoint, they are not good. They are not really acceptable you'd want from a game in 2022. And I know a lot of people are saying that you can only do so much on the Switch. Go play Breath of the Wild. Go play like Mario Odyssey. Go play like even Xenoblade Chronicles.
Even the last Pokemon game, Sword and Shield, they perform a lot better.
Yeah, they do. I mean, the Pokemon, the Game Freak are trying to do a lot more with this, like the open world and everything. But yeah, the games just do not run as you would expect a game to run in this day and age. And it's a shame. It's, even though I'll be the first to admit, some of the glitches, some of the things that I've seen online are
the Attack on Titan one is brilliant. I love that one.
Have you seen the one where the guy's got a wiglet penis?
What?
And then the wiglet does a huge attack. It looks like it honestly just looks like it's coming out of his dong.
No!
I'm going to send you that. I'm going to send you. Wait, you know what? I'm going to see if I can find it now and send it to you. Right. So I'm going to send you a video. This is the only one I can find it. On this video, you have to go to about 1 minute 19, okay?
Okay.
So go to 1 minute 19 on this video to watch the wiglet. I mean, it's in the fucking thumbnail. You know what I mean? It's in the thumbnail.
Oh my days.
No, but you wait till the wiglet attacks. Wait till the wiglet attacks.
Oh my god. Like, if you are watching this on YouTube or you're watching the video on Spotify, oh my day. 190. Oh, no.
Watch the whole thing. Watch it.
This is so wrong.
It's quite funny, guys, as you can hear.
I mean,
now you wouldn't have that if the games were made perfectly, all right?
No,
you wouldn't have it.
But these sort of glitches, like Eevee committing suicide, the player avatar becoming a Titan from Shingeki no Kyojin, falling through the map, a wiglet penis, and so on. They're the rare sort of glitches. They're the rare ones that are funny that you want to post about online and show the world, because they will get a laugh and they will get you a lot of view time and what have you. But most of it's infuriating. And I think my biggest problem with it is coming from such a solid, almost perfect experience on another first-party game. Moving across to this first-party game, which, all right, they've never been the most like groundbreaking. Other than, say, the original Pokemon games, they've never been groundbreaking titles. They've never pushed the envelope in what's technically or gameplay possible for the systems that they're on. And they are starting to do that, and I appreciate that. And with that, there are going to come issues. But as you say, like the frame rates, the fact I've had input lag on connected Joy-Cons. So in handheld mode, Joy-Cons attached to the side of the console, the official ones, I've had input lag. I've booted up Breath of the Wild afterwards. I've booted up Mario Odyssey, 2 games that are 5 years older than this one, I may add, and they've been flawless, no input lag at all. I booted up Legends Arceus from earlier this year from the same company, no input lag at all. Whatever is going on with the performance of this game, it is causing my Joy-Cons to have input lag, which just makes it hilariously difficult to move around the world in.
Yeah, I mean that's a shame to hear, because I've probably played it for about 35 hours, give or take, and I've had the bugs, the glitches, the slowdown, the frame rate that everyone gets, but I've had nothing that's game breaking, nothing that's prevented me from playing, nothing that's prevented me from proceeding, nothing like you've said here, the lag that makes it impossible to play. I've had none of that. My gameplay experience has been a little bit scuffed, but still very enjoyable. So it's a shame that you've had the Joy-Con issue. I don't know what that is. It might just be specific to a few games or something like that. But I haven't had any. Have you got the physical copy of the game?
I've got the physical copy of the game. So I've got the cart installed. That might be causing it, because yours is digital, isn't it?
Yeah, mine's digital.
Yeah, so you got the digital version, I got the physical version. So maybe it is a physical version thing, but I've not seen many other reports. There's a couple who have said the same as me, but it's damn hard to find other reports of it. But it's the infuriation of it. It's not that the game is bad at all. I know there is a great game in there. I know there is an advancement of the Pokemon formula in there that I'm going to enjoy. It's just how I'm feeling right now, especially with what else I've been playing and coming off. It's not enough for me personally.
Yeah. I just talking about the game without talking about the glitches and that for a moment. The game is better. I like what they've done with the open world. You can do anything you want in any order, which you can, but you can't because there's no level scaling or anything like that. So you could effectively go to the last gym, but you're going to get your ass handed to you.
Yeah.
But then you can effectively do what I did because I streamed a lot of the game and you have people from the community come in and say, do you want to do this raid den? So you do raid dens, which get you candies, and you explore and you do all sorts of things. By the time I'd finished the 4th gym, so that's like between level 30-ish Pokemon.
Yeah, about standard.
I had a level 55 Dragonite, because from just doing dens and having candies and pissing about around the world, by the time it came to doing like I went back and finished some of the story yesterday when I was streaming, and I hadn't done any of some of they're called the Team Star bases. So I had to go and clear out a bunch of level 15 Pokemon with my level 80, my level 85 Crocodile. And it's just like, I wish there was some sort of scaling, some sort of it sees what level you are, or it's like whatever gym you go to first has lower level Pokemon, and then the second gym you go to has the higher level Pokemon. You could still be over leveled like I was, but at least you're doing it. Because I know Scott, our good friend Scott, went and did the gym you were supposed to do first, last, and ended up killing some small little level 10 bug with his big bastard Pokemon. So
yeah, it's because isn't Breath of the Wild similar? Like you can tackle it in any sort of order you want. You could go and immediately take on the final boss if you were so crazy enough, but it's sensible to go and level up around the world.
I mean, level up isn't the right word because you're still the same Link when you go thing. You just get better items and stuff.
Yeah,
you can, and I have. You can go and beat Ganon straight from the beginning. Because I practiced doing speedruns of the game because I loved it so much. I wanted to practice doing speedruns. And I got to a point where I could beat the game. It took me like an hour or so, but still. But like you can go to the final area, get the weapons you need, get the food you need to make the food. There's a couple of glitches you can exploit to beat some of the blights quicker. But you can effectively go and beat the game straight from the beginning as you are, with the stuff you find on the way. You cannot do that in Pokemon unless you're got some insane level 10 Pokemon strategy to beat the last boss or something. You know what I mean?
Because it's something a lot of these games do well, the level scaling. And even when you start to over level them, it's not then a case of you're just going to stomp everything. It's still going to be a bit of a challenge.
It's something that they've actually alluded to in the Pokemon lore, but it's something that they've alluded to. I was watching one of the shorts they did. I think it was one of the shorts they did anyway. It showed the guy going in to fight a gym leader, and the gym leader asked how many badges he already had, and then the gym leader then picked his team based on the badges that the trainer already had.
That would be perfect.
So that is something that they've already alluded to in Pokemon that is a thing, which I don't see why. Yes, I guess it's more to program. Every gym leader has to have 8 different teams. It can't be that difficult.
Could it not just be the same team, just at 8 different levels, and obviously de-evolve their final forms?
I guess you could do that, but I guess with Pokemon, you have like the later gym leaders have more Pokemon as well. But yeah. I don't know how different it would be just to put a couple of them in the bin for the early level ones. And then maybe you can do gym leader rematches in all the games anyway. So it's not like you're going to miss out on the 8th gym leader's hardest team anyway, because you're going to go back and fight them at the end.
Well, yeah, you're going back for the glory, aren't you?
Yeah, you've got to go back and slap them all about with your level 100 legendary Pokemon. It's
I mean,
part of the rite of passage of being a Pokemon master.
100%. It's weird to me. I know there's a good game in there, and I can't wait to actually get a patch out that sorts a couple of the issues out, even if it
Yeah,
just sorts like the frame rate. I can stick it in the dock and play it with my Pro controller and
yeah,
not have that input lag sort of thing. But if a couple of the issues get sorted out, I can put it in and I know I can have a good time. But I've been playing Temtem for 2 years at this point, and it's an old school Pokemon style game. Very
yeah,
linear paths, very linear story. There's no open world, there's no overworld Thames that you can see. Every encounter is blind. You don't know what you're getting, sort of thing. It's
yeah,
incredibly difficult in terms of leveling, scaling, type weaknesses, and what have you. And it feels very much like the Pokemon of old in some regards. It's got a
yeah,
much better story. And it's constantly evolving because it's more of an MMO type option.
yeah,
But it feels like Pokemon used to feel. I think the last time I had that proper feeling was probably Black 2, White 2. I really
yeah,
enjoyed those games. I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the playthrough, and really enjoyed the end game. And Pokemon going to this open world seems to be. I felt it a little bit with Sword and Shield, but there was enough new. The fact it was on the Switch, full 3D, the fact there was this open area and he had a really cool bike to pedal around on and such. I sort of overlooked it. There was enough positives going on that it didn't
yeah,
bother me. But in the same year, in 2022, we've had both Pokemon Legends Arceus and um, Violet and Scarlet. And I'm already feeling tired of that design. Does that make sense?
I guess. I mean,
Like you said, I
uh,
mean, you could go and over level and attack the first gym, and that first gym doesn't scale up to your level. I have
no,
no problem with the final gym being unassailable until you're at level. I would actually quite like that. Like you go and get absolutely dominated. You have to go away and train up to come back. But those earlier gyms should scale up at least. So if you are over leveling them, they should be at least at the same level as you when you then go in. I think that would probably be a better way of doing things rather than scaling the other ones down.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
scale the lower ones up, have them follow the player up. Other open world RPG games do that. I hate to bring these ones up because they're so terrible, but the Assassin's Creed games actually do a great job of making sure that you're never just dominating the opposition, that level scaling is on. So even if you go into a much lower level area,
yeah.
there's still a decent challenge, there's still a decent amount of gameplay. It's not just a ball fest because you're walking through and destroying everything, like you said about the Team Star dens and what have you.
God, they were shit anyway. Great music. The Team Star had the best music in the game. It's just shame they had the worst
Worst
combat mode,
gameplay to go with it,
in my
yeah.
opinion. All right, but hopefully, the next Pokemon game we get, there's a huge improvement. But I'm not holding my breath.
I do have a question for you about this one.
Yes, babe.
And it's one that's been going around the interweb, so you've probably seen it, probably thought on it.
Okay.
Do you think that this game was made for the rumored Switch Pro, and then because of supply chain issues, we ended up getting the OLED instead of the Pro, and this is just outperforming the console?
No, I genuinely think Game Freak are lazy. I genuinely think Game Freak just don't know how to make a decent open world game at the moment. I think Game Freak were, they locked on with how good the original Pokemon games were and the formula and everything. And I don't know, as time's gone and the consoles have got more powerful and there's more demands on what you can do with the game and everything. I just don't think Game Freak have kept up. I don't know if it's the staff or they've been pushed too thin. I mean, this is the second full main Pokemon game this year.
Well, yeah, true.
With Arceus coming out as well, and even that wasn't
I mean,
the best
Arceus was
running
good.
game
I
in the
enjoyed
world.
Arceus, but as you say, that there were big issues with it, especially with like popping. I don't know whether you had any of the like giant Pokemon just appear on your face
Yeah,
at any point.
yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's a horror game now. But yeah, I don't think they tried to make it for the rumored Switch Pro because it still looks like ass. The graphics should be. The Switch can do better graphics than what Scarlet and Violet are providing us.
I mean, they're going to have to be
So,
stylized. Look at Breath of the Wild; it's very stylized graphics, as
yeah.
is Mario Odyssey. The very stylized graphics. But one of my favorite games from an aesthetic standpoint is 2007's Prince of Persia, which is just this cel-shaded, beautiful experience. It's
Yeah.
such an aesthetically beautiful game. It's not the most hyper realistic graphics. It's not the most 3D and what have you. Every plane that you're on, everything looks 2D, but you're moving in a 3D environment. I absolutely love the way that game looks. And that was a PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 game, but it was fantastic. I loved how it looked. And when you've got, say, an underpowered hardware, because let's be honest about what the Switch is here,
It is
it's
underpowered.
it's 10-year-old hardware. It's basically a 10-year-old Android tablet at this point in terms of underlying specs. Operating system and such, that's a different story, but underlying specs, it's a 10-year-old Android tablet at best. And you can still get experiences running well on 10-year-old Android tablets. You can get experiences running and looking fantastic on the Switch. You just have to perform to the hardware. You have to build for the hardware. And this is a first-party studio. They only build for the Nintendo Switch. They're not building for a different handheld. They're not building for the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC crowd as well. They are building only for the Switch. They are the richest game developer in the world. Nobody else comes close. And they're churning out experiences that leave a bit of a sour taste for a lot of people.
Yeah, this definitely has. This is the worst reviewed game they've had since the last worst reviewed game. I didn't do my research on that one.
I think it was Sword and Shield, the last worst reviewed game.
No, Sword and Shield was reviewed quite well. I think it's the worst reviewed. I think it's the worst user reviewed game since Pokemon. I think it was Emerald, which surprised me because Emerald was reviewed very well. It was either the worst user reviewed or worst critic reviewed game since Emerald.
Worst critic review would probably be Alpha Sapphire.
Even Alpha, yeah, you're just thinking
the remakes,
just the IGN review.
The too much water, yeah.
The rest of the people that actually played the game thoroughly enjoyed it was actually a good, well-made game.
Yeah, very good, very good. They're some of the best games to Nuzlocke as well because of their design.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Pokemon have got a lot to do to come back from this. Personally, it's a great game. Don't let me put you off it. If you like Pokemon, you're gonna fucking love it. It's a great game. I really enjoy it. But just technically, it's just
know what you're getting into. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. You're not going to have a super solid experience. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add on this section, Dorgan, before we move on?
I think the only thing is this is a message directly to developers of video games. Can we have more releases than February and November in 2023, please? Because I had a lot of games to play in February, a lot of games to play in November, and nothing in between or after.
Let me just come back with that. Breath of the Wild 2 in May.
There we go. That's not February or November. I'm happy.
It was supposed to come out this November. It was supposed to come out this November, but it's coming out in May. Let's move on. Right. So this is the end of episode 6 of the Massive Nerdmigo original podcast. Thank you very much. If you are still here to the end, I greatly appreciate your ear holes for my voice. So Dorgan, where can we find you around the internet for the next 2 weeks? What have you got up to? What have you got planned?
You can find me everywhere at Doragon86, unless you're on Hive Social, where it's just at Doragon. Got just my name on that one, which is nice. Branding, eh? Hard to do. I have just released a review video on my own personal channel for Halo Infinite and how I feel about that game a year after its launch. I am currently in the process of writing a full review of God of War Ragnarok. Don't worry if you haven't played it, there won't be any spoilers in it, but that one's going to be a couple of weeks until that one's out for you. So hopefully it's going to be up to a quality that you all deserve.
Aren't you such a babe?
I try.
I myself will be, you can find me on my Twitch channel. We have a special stream coming up for you on Friday the 2nd. It's going to be, this is the first place, I've not announced it anywhere else yet. This is the first place I've announced it.
Exclusive.
Massively Gaming presents the Early as Fuck Christmas Party. what we're going to be doing on a Friday night. We're going to be having a party. Basically, it's a just chatting. We're going to have the Just Dance out. We're going to do some karaoke. We're going to have some special guests on for some performances if they want to. We're going to use the Twitch guest star thing. So if you want to jump in and sing us a song or dance, or don't get your dick out because that'll get me banned, you can do it. That'll be at 8 p.m. on British time. So that'll be fun. But thank you everyone for hanging out. Don't forget, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor. You can find me and Wibble in the comment section of Pornhub, apparently. Please feel free to drop a comment or a like, or give me a recipe to your mum's favorite cooking, and I will make it, and I will enjoy it, and I will think of you. But otherwise, I've been your host for this episode. My name is Lee.
My name is Doragon.
And until next time, have yourself a fantastic day, and I miss you, and I'll think about you when I cry myself to sleep tonight. All right.
Love you.
Bye. There we go. If I keep this up, I'll never be asked to host again.